Len Talbot. And round about then he met my mother and they decided to get married, and I'm figuring out how I'm leaving enough time for this to happen. Well, anyway, I was born in 1951, in August 1951, at which time he was still at the London Hippodrome in the show.
You told me that this show and your father and his fellows were quite a big number and famous.
Yeah, they were.
For what they were doing.
Well, basically what happened was that because it's such a high-profile show, they attracted the attention of agents, etc., all over Europe. But funny enough, they also attracted attention in the States. And the strangest thing was that because the act was named Les Trois de Mille, right from the start, the Americans thought that they were French, which was quite funny in a way. But as soon as they found out that they were British, I mean, it didn't make any difference. And there was talk of them going to New York. In fact, there were dates set up at Radio City in New York. There was talk of going to Vegas, but the wheels grind slowly with this sort of thing, and really, not to put too fine a point, what happened is that the guys, not just my dad, got married and had a child, but the other guys got married, and the situation was such that this show had ended, and they more or less toured all the main theatres, in the country by that time, which means that you reach a point where you have to move on because there are no more dates to be done. And whilst all these negotiations were going on, back in those days, they weren't exactly highly paid in the first place compared to today, with astronomical money in showbiz. Everybody basically had to earn a living. And not being able to wait, the act really just sort of drifted apart. I mean, no big break or anything, but the act drifted apart.
You met people equally working in the show business.
Yeah.
As a child.
Yeah. So my upbringing was, when you're a child, you don't think, it's just, these are just normal people. These are, you sort of uncle and aunt sort of thing. It's only later you realise that you knew people who went on to become quite big stars in their day and in the business, but were just like Dad and the act were just starting out. So they weren't stars then, but they became stars, and these are people that I mixed with as a child and grew up with. Yeah.
And after when you were established as a photographer, you had the opportunity to meet them again.
Yeah, well that's the strange thing, and what we spoke about this, that after they'd sort of become well known, I'd have occasion to bump into them, and of course, they're not going to remember me. Sort of they knew me knee high or whatever, and I suppose in a way, I know what you're going to ask because it did stick in my mind that that in those sort of situations, they don't know me, so I'm telling you, don't remember me, but you knew me. But and by way of explaining, it's oh, I'm Len Talbot's boy, and it's almost it almost becomes sort of what you're known by, you know. And the strange thing is, I'm working now, and I'm reminding them of Dad, and he's been long out of the business, and yet, you know, he's the well-known one, and I'm nobody, I suppose. But yeah, and I got to know some of them sort of reasonably well socially.